While you guys are doing that, we'll get rolling here. So, as I've said, this is the Get Your First Deal call, and we are obsessed here at Airbnb School with helping people just like you get their first deal so that they can eventually grow and scale their Airbnb business so they can quit their job that they hate so much and live a life of financial and time freedom. All right, so here's what we're going to cover tonight. I have a very, very, very special call for everybody, and we are going to answer the age-long question. I literally get this question probably almost every day, and here it is. Should I go local or should I go remote for my first Airbnb property? And oh my, do I get this question a lot. And so we are going to solve this question tonight once and for all, so everybody knows what you should be doing when you're getting started in your Airbnb business. Sorry, if I keep looking this way, it's because I have two screens and my slides are this way. But before we jump into that, why should you even bother listening to me? And so here it is. Here's a little bit about me. Again, I've already introduced myself, but my name is Ryan, in case you missed it. And I have grown my business to 8 properties. I have 6 arbitrage deals, and I have 2 co-hosting deals. I'm currently working on co-hosting deal number 3 and arbitrage deal number 7. My goal is to be at 15 properties by the end of the year. I'm very confident that I will hit that. I will have a mix of co-hosting and arbitrage deals that I will be using. All right, so I'm working on number 9. In fact, I'm actually in the talks right now. I've already closed the deal. I'm just waiting for the individual to sign the contract, and we're going to be live. So very, very excited about that. All right, and so I am on pace for $700,000 in bookings, not profit. I wish, but I've had a lot of guests. I have a lot of 5-star reviews. I have had a lot of stays, and we have done lots of cleanings. Oh my gosh, I've calculated last year one property alone for my cleaner was what, over 300 cleanings. It was a lot. But okay. I'm also the former chief operations officer of one of the largest Airbnb coaching companies in the world. And we have helped at that company thousands of people start their very own Airbnb business, many who are now 6- and 7-figure hosts, many of them who are my friends now, many of them who I'm in contact with, and some of them who will be dropping some value bombs inside of our community. We'll have a little bit inside of our free community, and we'll have lots of value bombs dropping inside of the paid community. But yeah, so they'll be coming in and helping, doing some teaching there. And so I think most important is I've been able to generate more than $10,000 a month in profit from this business. It's increasing for every property that I do pick up. And so my goal is to help you guys do the same. I'm not just here to help you guys just get one property. My goal is to help as many people as I can quit their 9-to-5 job and work a life where they have time freedom and where they have financial freedom. And I do believe that anywhere between 7 and 10K a month is a amount of money that people can make where they can confidently quit their job, fire the boss, and jump into this business full time. And I say full time, but really it's a couple hours a day of work. And so the big question everybody asks me, why are you doing this for free? And so just a little bit more about me. The last company that I did work for, they charged a lot of money and very few people got results. And it's not necessarily the company's fault. Most people join these coaching programs and they never take action. And so it was a little bit sad to see people spending so much money, but they would not do the work. And so I did make it my mission to do things differently. If I was going to teach people how to do Airbnb, I wanted to do it differently. And so I've already talked about my goal a little bit, but in conjunction with that, my goal is to help as many people as I can get their first deal. And that is my mission and my goal with the free community that you guys are a part of. Our goal is to help you guys get your first deal, but our real goal is to help you guys not just get your first deal, but to scale beyond that. And our hope is that you will be so happy with the results that you get from working with us, from getting your first property, from going through our free stuff, getting results, that you will then want to join our paid community where we will teach you everything else that you need to know to maximize profit, scale your company so you can make over $10,000 a month, and automate things so you can buy your time back. But for now, let's focus on getting you your first deal.
Real quick, before we dive any deeper, if you're just getting started with Airbnb or looking to land your first listing, you're gonna want to listen up. You need to check out our free Airbnb Skool community because inside you'll get access to our Airbnb Skool masterclass. You'll get access to weekly Get Your First Listing live coaching calls, and you'll also get access to a global community of motivated hosts and top 1% of Airbnb earners. In addition to all of that, we also include must-have tools like cleaning checklists, furnishing guides, house manuals, and landlord contract templates, everything that you need to get up and running with your Airbnb business. All this is designed to help you get that first deal fast. And the best part, it's totally free to join. So just hit the link in the description below and I will see you on the inside. Okay, back to the video.
So let's get started. So the big question that we are solving here tonight, drum roll, should I go local or should I go remote for my first property? And my goodness, this is the most asked question, or one of the most asked questions. The other one is, should I do co-hosting or arbitrage? And my answer to that is you should probably do both, depending on your financial situation. But this one I get asked a lot too, and for various reasons, and we'll get into that here tonight. But we are going to solve this question once and for all. And by the end of this call, anyone who is watching now or anyone who will be watching in the future, I want you guys to confidently be able to say, okay, I listened to that call, and now I know if I'm going to be doing this remote or if I'm going to be doing it locally. So, should I go local or should I go remote for my first property? Pros and cons. I think it's important that we talk about the pros and cons of each. Okay, so you understand what you're getting yourself into. So let's talk about local, doing this local first, and those pros. First of all, one of the pros is that the area. What do I mean by that? You know, if you're going to do this business locally, you already know the rental market somewhat, or it's going to be easy to figure it out. You're going to know the average rents in your area. You're definitely likely going to know, especially if you live there for a good amount of time, the different neighborhoods. What's a good neighborhood? What's a bad neighborhood? You do not want to find yourself doing an Airbnb business in bad neighborhoods. That is a one-way ticket to getting nightmare guests and really bad reviews. And that's just not good. So don't do that. And then the other thing that you're going to know are what are attractions nearby? What are attracting people to that city? Are you in a university town? Are you in Niagara Falls like I am, or near Niagara Falls where people are coming to see a landmark? Is there lots of tourism? Are you near the beach? Right? If you think about it long enough, what are some things that are drawing people? Because you're going to want to capitalize on that. like I said, even if you're in a university town, that is something that you can capitalize because people will be traveling there for sports or they'll be traveling there to visit their kids, whatever the case is. Okay. So you're going to know the area. Next, you're going to know people. Again, if you've lived in that city for any amount of time at all, you're going to know whether you're going to know the different people. You're going to know contractors likely. If not, you're going to know you know people that know contractors. If you don't know contractors, you know people that do. You're going to know potential cleaners. Who are people in my network that could clean for me? Do I know cleaning companies? You'll be able to contact them much easier. You will also know people who already have Airbnbs. You likely know somebody who already has one. So if you're doing co-hosting, those are like your low-hanging fruit. Get in there and start co-hosting for them, right? So there's just so many aspects to this, but it is nice having your network already. That is a benefit. I'm not saying you can't do it without one, but it is nice to have it. This is one of my favorite ones. If there are issues, you are close by. Again, you got to think about these things, right? So, for example, I actually didn't end up going, but for one of my co-hosting deals, the guest left, the cleaner came in, and the bathtub was clogged halfway up, and the cleaner couldn't drain the tub. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So I called my maintenance guy and he happens to live. I probably would have gone if I wasn't busy, but I'm trying to build a business where I'm not always in the weeds, right? And that's what you should be doing too. So I called my maintenance guy and he showed up and drained that tub. But nonetheless, if I couldn't get a hold of him, I probably would have went. This is another big one too. It is easier to close landlords in person when trying to do a deal. Hands down, they get to see you, they get to meet you, they get to talk to you, you get to understand each other a little bit. You get to build more of that in-person rapport. So it is a little bit easier. Plus, they do, again, I'm not trying to discourage anyone because we're going to talk about a lot of the pros with doing it remotely as well. But landlords like knowing that you're local just in case something does happen. Okay, so there is that. There are ways to reassure them otherwise, but just throwing that out there. Another local pro, and this is one that's been really helpful for me for getting deals, is branding. So you can become the Airbnb guy or Airbnb girl in your area. And I like that. Like people know me as that. And I have deals literally falling on my lap all the time now. I get at least a phone call a week of somebody from my social media who is like, "Hey Ryan, I have a property. I want to do Airbnb. Can you co-host? Can you give me tips? Can you do this? Can you do that?" I get it all the time. And so it's easier to do that, when you already have a network because people know people. It's just you can grow your business that way pretty quickly. So it's something I personally like a lot. Let's talk about the cons. What are the cons of doing this locally? And you're probably like, there's cons? There is. One of them is that, first of all, short-term rentals may not be allowed in your city. And obviously, in that case, you have no choice but to go remote. The other thing is that you are actually limited in scaling. Now, obviously, this depends on where you live, but you have to keep in mind that there's only so much inventory in a city, and there's only so many people who are willing to say yes. And so, if you live in a smaller market, you eventually probably will have to go remote if you're going to keep scaling, if you're going to keep growing and building. Let's talk about remote. All right. What are the pros of going remote? And the first pro is that it is super scalable. All right. You can do the business anywhere in the world. It does not matter where you are. You can be living in Canada and you can have a short-term rental business in Australia, in the United Kingdom, in Germany, wherever it's allowed, in the United States, in South America. You can do it anywhere. And it gives you the ability to do the business no matter what. If you are going to do a remote business model, restrictions are no longer an issue because now you can pick any city you want. And I'm going to talk about that in a few moments. Here it is. I'm going to talk about it right now. You can pick highly profitable and successful areas. So you might have have it where Airbnb or short-term rentals, I'm going to say it that way because Airbnb is allowed everywhere. Short-term rentals is what the bylaws are have on, okay? But but yeah, you in a town or a city that allows Airbnb or short-term rentals, but it might not be very profitable. So one of the beautiful things about going remote is that you get to pick the city. Do some research. Hey, Google, what are the best cities to do Airbnb? What are the most favorable bylaws? Go to Rabu, do some research and find a city where you're like, man, you know what? I'm going to cake it in this city. So that is one of the beautiful pros about doing remote is you can pick any city and you can, I mean, if you're going to do arbitrage remote, you can say, hey, you know what? I'm going to move to Florida. And then guess what you just did? You just got yourself a vacation home real quick. Oh, my Google's talking to me. Sorry, Google. Anyway, but you get to pick the area. And I think that's important. And I will talk about that with myself in a few moments. But yeah, pick a place that's profitable. Do some research and then say, yeah, I'm going to go all in. So here are some cons to doing it remote, which is basically the opposite of all the pros of local. But what I did here is I gave the con, but I also gave what you do to overcome that con because I don't want to discourage anybody from doing it remote because some of you may have that might be your only option. I don't want you to be like, oh man, I just listened to Ryan and I'm so like depressed right now because like it's just gonna be too hard. No, it's only as hard as you make it. Okay. So the first thing is you may not be familiar with the area. Okay. You might not know the neighborhoods. You might not know the attractions, although you're going to do your research, right? So con can be overcome very easily by doing deep research. Maybe you vacationed there before. Maybe you already have an idea. Maybe you know people, maybe you know a couple people that live there. I'm not sure. But do some research, right? Figure it out. Don't be afraid to go to Google. We spend hours on social media. Spend a couple hours working on your business and see how it transforms your life. All right. Next con is you have any contacts in this area that you're going to do your remote business in. But it is not hard to pick up the phone and start communicating with cleaners, maintenance people, contractors, real estate agents, rental market agents. Does not matter. It is not hard to go on Facebook and go into a local Facebook group and find people that fit this mold, right? It's not hard to do that. You just have to put a little bit of effort in and it will pay off. So, for example, if it were me, and it will be me, because once I hit 15 properties where I'm at, I'm going to be scaling down in Florida because that's where I want to do the business next. And guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to network with people. That's going to be the first thing. I'm going to go and I'm going to find an Airbnb Facebook group and I'm going to connect with people. I'm going to find cleaners and I'm going to find maintenance people and I'm going to find real estate. I'm going to talk to everybody. I'm going to let them know what I'm doing. Con number three, if there are issues, you're not there. And obviously, that could be stressful at times. If you have a guest that's like, oh my gosh, I don't know, the water's leaking in the toilet. And I don't know how to fix it. I can't stop it. And you can't go fix it. Oh man. But not difficult. You establish a point of contact. You find somebody that can handle those. And you're like, oh, well, who would do that? Well, trust me, there are people that will handle emergency phone calls. Okay. You just have to connect with people and find them. So these are all, although they are cons, you can overcome the obstacles. The other thing that I love is that you don't get to meet landlords in person. And so this does make it a little bit more difficult to do arbitrage. If you're doing co-hosting, not such a big deal because you're really just doing the management anyway. But if you're doing arbitrage, it is a little bit harder because you're not there to close them, but it can still be done. In fact, in my paid community, we have partnered with a company where you can jump in and you can buy yourself a remote deal. You have to get some money for it, but you can get it. So people are closing deals remotely. Does not matter. So you can still do arbitrage. It's still possible. It just, it's going to take a little bit more creativity. Maybe if you have the budget, and this is why I talked about this, this could be handled in different ways. I mean, you could fly to that city. You could fly to the place where you're going to do the business and take a week and go pound on some doors. I'm telling you, if you put the work in, you'll get the results. You really will. Okay. So, but a lot of it's depending on the budget. And I mean, if you don't have much of a budget, you probably shouldn't be doing arbitrage anyway, right? Like arbitrage is for people that have some revenue, if they have some money, whatever, they have some investable income and they want to turn that investable income into a asset, right? That's going to produce more income for them. Okay. So, should I go local or should I go remote for my first property? Choosing what's right for you. So, what is right for you? Because I know I just talked about all the pros, I talked about all the cons, but it's still like, okay, well, how do I still choose for me? Very simple. How do I know which is the right one for me? You need to ask yourself this one question right here. And this is going to dictate everything else. Are short-term rentals allowed in my area? Period. Wait, question mark. Ask yourself that. Write it down. If the answer is yes, I recommend that you start in your city, hands down. No excuses. It is the easiest way. Why would you fight that? The only exception to that is if you do your research and nobody's making money on Airbnb. Outside of that, you do the business close to home. Now, again, I'm not trying to scare people away from remote. You can do this remotely. I'm going to do it remotely. We can do it together. Okay. People are doing it all the time. I'm going to tell stories in a few minutes. But I recommend starting in your city. If the answer is no, ask yourself this second question. Are there cities within an hour, maybe an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours from where I live, depending on how far you want to drive? But do a radius, 2 hour. Okay, here's where I live, hour, 2 hour radius, right? And find a city in that range that you can do the business. All right. And if the answer is yes, okay, there is a city that I can do this business within that range. And guess what? Do the business there. Again, make sure that you do your research. That's super important. You need to know if it's going to be profitable or not. But that's where you want to do it. Now, if the answer is still no, can't do it in my city, there's not a spot within 2 hours of me, just adding somebody else in. All right. So if the answer is still no, then you need to go remote. Okay. If you cannot do it in your city because there's restrictions on short-term rentals there, if you cannot do it within 2 hours of your location radius because there are short-term restrictions in those cities, then that is when you go remote. All right. Especially when you're first starting out. If you're first starting out, you go remote when you can't do it in those two circumstances. This is the only way I'm going to teach it. You want to go remote when you have no other option. So if you can do it close to home, do it 100%. And the reason for that, Loveland, I know you just jumped in, but the reason for that is all the pros and cons I just talked about. All right. And when you're first starting out, you want to, if you want to be as close, you just want to be as close to home as possible as you're growing, learning, and scaling. Okay. Second here. And so if you can, do the business close to home. However, do not worry. Don't sweat. Everything can be figured out. Everything can be solved. Lots of people have built a remote business. There are ways around this. Okay. And some ways are even easier than others. But what I love about this, and we've already talked about it, the first thing you're going to want to do, if you cannot do it in those in your city or a 2 hour radius, is the first thing I want you to do is I want you to research and pick a favorable city. Don't just pick a city because you like the city. Pick a city that you know will generate good revenue on Airbnb. Pick a city that has lots of rentals. Or if you're going to go co-hosting, pick a city that has lots of Airbnbs. Because trust me, that's going to be your little honeypot for getting co-hosting deals. Okay. So pick a city. Where's it profitable? And then once you pick that city, I want you to focus in on that city. Don't divest, don't go other places, don't get shiny object syndrome somewhere else. Focus on that city. This is where I'm going to do the business. And here's why, because the principles of building an Airbnb business are the same no matter where you're at. You need to build a network. You need cleaners. You need a maintenance team. You need to know people that are in the business. You need to know people that are in the real estate business. And so if you're trying to pick up one property here and another property in Wyoming and another property in Philadelphia, whatever the case might be, you're not going to be able to scale good because you're going to be spending your time always networking. So pick a city and say, okay, this is where I'm going to scale it. And I'm going to scale this thing to 5 properties, 10 properties, whatever the case is. And then I will go look at another location. But if you haven't got the 5 properties yet, you're sticking in one area. Okay. And so you'll want to join groups in that city, network. You can remote network. Very simply, I've already told you guys, go on the Facebook, find Facebook groups, Airbnb groups, entrepreneur groups, all that stuff. All right. Start contacting landlords. If there's a landlord Facebook group, jump in there too. Real estate agents, all that stuff. All right. Start connecting with people, other Airbnb hosts. Become friends with Airbnb hosts. All right. I can't tell you how many people call me and come to me now because my properties are all booked up and theirs are not. And I have people that are saying, hey, will you manage my property for me? Will you co-host for me? Because I can't make the kind of money that I see that you're making. And now it becomes this is literally how I closed my last co-hosting deal, which I just closed 2 days ago over the phone. All right. I talked to him. He had it's like a 40% occupancy rate so far for this month. And he had only made $1,200 since April 1st. I said, look, I just launched a property April 15th, and it's already at a 50% occupancy rate for this month, and I've already made $3,000. And our properties are very similar in size. And I said to him, and I said, that's only half the month. Right. And so he was kind of hemming and hawing. And I was like, look, let's put it this way. You only made $1,000. If let's just say on a low end, I made you $4,000 for this entire month. You would have paid me, in this case, would have been 15%. So you would have paid me $600. You would have made $3,400. That would have been $2,400 almost more than what you have been able to do on your own. And as soon as I said that, he said, let's do it. Right? So connect with Airbnb hosts. Sorry, guys, I don't mean to divest, but I like to tell stories. Connect with hosts, connect with people. It will help you. Okay, so should I go local or should I go remote for my first property? Let's talk about people who are doing this. All right. And here's the thing, people are crushing it doing both models. There are people that do very well, okay, with the local model. But I really believe if you're going to scale to any significant numbers, you will have to eventually, you're going to have to broaden, you're going to have to stretch out, you're going to have to go remote. Okay. So, first person I want to talk about is a friend of mine who will be bringing content to this group. He'll be bringing some content to this group. He'll be bringing tons of content to our paid community. He is a co-hosting genius. I have learned a ton from him, and he has an incredible story. But anyway, he has 50 doors. Okay. When I say doors, he has 50 Airbnbs, 50 listings. And he started out in Wilmington, North Carolina. Okay. Scaled his business there. And then he started in Orlando and he scaled a business there. And then he jumped over to Phoenix, Arizona. and started scaling there. 50 doors. He has a spot. So again, he lives in Wilmington. He has a house in in Phoenix that in the busy season he can get $2,000 a night for. The place is gorgeous. You got to think about the kind. If he's charging 15% on $2,000 a night, and he gets that place booked up like 20 nights. I can't even do the math right now, but he's getting paid a nice chunk of change to co-host that bad boy. Okay. And he does the business from away and he does it very, very well. He does everything that I've just told you guys. He networks, he talks to people, he's got connections, he's got handymen, he's got people on call, he's got guys cleaners. He's taken his system and he's plugged it into another city. And so for you guys, you take our system that we build, especially in our paid community, you can take that system and you can put that into another community. Another story, another friend of mine who was a coach at a former Airbnb coaching company that I worked for. He lived just outside of the Los Angeles area. If you know LA, Airbnb restrictions there are tight, or short-term rentals, I should say. And so he ran the majority of his business out of Arizona. Okay. I think he was in the Scottsdale area. But and he did very well, very, very well. To the point he was actually a single guy. He scaled his business to the point where he was making $15,000 a month US profit. And he automated his business so much that he literally only had to work about an hour a day. And the rest of his time he spent on a golf course, and he's an amateur golfer now. And so he enjoys golf, does it all the time. And here's another example, and this one I found really interesting. But my most recent co-hosting client, not the one I just closed, but one that I'm currently already co-hosting for. Before him and I struck a deal, he actually already had a management company out of Toronto. And this is one of the reasons I was able to close him, was because the management company was charging him more money and wasn't able to get him booked up as much because of some of the cleaning fees and stuff like that that they had to do. And I have some secret sauce when it comes to cleanings. But anyway, this management company, the owner of, actually, not just the owner, the company itself resides in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And if you're not from Canada, Canada is the least country in the world. It's huge. It's massive. It is near Niagara Falls, near Detroit. Sorry, not Canada, Toronto. Toronto's near. But this company literally has Airbnbs all across Canada. They have them in Halifax. They have them in Montreal. They have them in Toronto. They have them in Niagara. They have them in Calgary. They have them in Edmonton. This guy was co-hosting all over the place. He had 35 listings from properties all across Canada. Now, I would still prefer to pick one city, scale it out, even if you're co-hosting, unless the landlord the person that you're co-hosting with already has a network of people and you're just jumping in and taking over. That's a little bit different. But if that's not the case, I would pick a city and say, okay, I'm going to do co-hosting in this city. Because especially when you're doing pricing and stuff, like you're going to know what works, what doesn't work, so it just helps you. But yeah, so you can do this business anywhere. There is no excuses. If you are really determined, if you're like, I want to quit my 9 to 5, I am tired of working for my boss. I'm tired of clocking. This is what I got tired of clocking in every single day. But clocking in and then clocking out and coming home and cooking dinner and being tired, and you can't spend time with your kids, then you have to be able to say, you know what, I'm not going to make any excuses. If I can't do it in my city, I'm going to find a favorable city. I'm going to find a profitable city. I'm going to put my roots down in that city, and I'm going to build an Airbnb business. And if you have some cash, then do some arbitrage to get started and then pick up some co-hosting deals. If you don't have cash, go straight for co-hosting. Start meeting with people who have Airbnbs already. Start connecting with these people. There are ways to do it. All right. You can go into these Facebook groups. You can offer them, say, hey, you know what? I will do, I will property for free for the next 30 days. If I do a good job, We can keep working together. If I don't, we'll move on. No harm, no foul. Right. So there's just no excuse. You can do it. If the Toronto company's doing it, if my friend from LA can do it, and and the guy from North Carolina, I've seen these guys just get started. I knew these guys, they were ever in the business. And the reason I knew them is because I've told you guys at the beginning of the call, I used to be the COO for one of the largest Airbnb coaching companies in the world. And these guys came in as students into that coaching company. No listings at all. And they worked with the coaches. And they got their first deal and their second deal and their third deal. And they worked their way up. All right. I just say that because I want to encourage people. You can do this business. You can do it. You just have to get out of your way, your own way. Stop being afraid. Stop being afraid of rejection. Stop being afraid of failure. Stop being afraid. Just get out there and just talk. Look, we're getting into a mindset call right now, but seriously, just get out there and talk to people, right? You can change your life by doing it. Like, I actually homeschool my kids. I homeschool them, not by choice. My oldest has separation he got last year. It's kind of been tough to deal with, but you can do it, and you can have it. You get your time back. And the last thing I'll end on is I've already talked about this, but I will also do remote. I get to my 15 properties here. I'm just about closing in on 10. We're just about there. Oh, hang on a second. We're just 10, and I'll scale 15, and then like I told you guys, I'm going to Florida. Florida is my second home. Love down there. I want a place where I can vacation and I don't have to worry about renting an Airbnb because I have my own. All right. So let's get to work. I want anyone to this call, whether it's right now or whether it's in the future as a recording, you guys to make it your goal that this week you're going to get a deal.